The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, 90 days of boxing, another edition, day number 34. Can't believe it. Every day that I come on here live, I feel like I become a better person going on these lives. So this is gonna be a good one. I mean, you guys can already see. I'm wearing a WrestleMania shirt. Shout out to Stone Cold. Shout out to The Rock. Shout out to Stone Cold. There's big things happening in boxing. This is gonna be a bit of a special live, guys, because man, like my buddy Hyro would say, Hyro, if you see this, PBC is back, right? PBC announces two big things today, and I've been listening. If you guys follow this channel, you guys know that over the years, I've been hypercritical. I mean, when I say hypercritical, I mean extremely, extremely critical, because I felt like since, for a couple years now, I feel like Benavidez has been wasting his time chasing around Canelo Alvarez. I know how Canelo Alvarez is. Canelo Alvarez doesn't want to fight guys that, he thinks are a legitimate threat to him. That's just what it is. He's always been that way. That's always been his MO. So it's not surprising to me that we've got to this point. I remember being here in Vegas 3 years ago for Caleb playing Canelo Fight Week, and people were talking about Benavidez back then. And it's not surprising to me that we got all this time, all this way, and Canelo Alvarez really doesn't want to fight Benavidez. So it is what it is. I'm not really mad about it. I'm not one of these people that was overly invested in Canelo versus Benavidez. Truth be told, I always thought it was kind of like a waste of time, only because like Benavidez is huge, Canelo ain't that big. So I've always wanted to see Benavidez fight guys more close to his size. So thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. Benavidez is moving up to light heavyweight like I've been complaining about for all these years. It's beautiful, right? And for those of you guys who don't know the news, let me refresh your memory. Benavidez did announce today that he will be going up to light heavyweight, and he will be fighting none other than the Nail himself, the former Ukrainian Olympian, one of the most respected light heavyweights in the world. Alexander Gvozdyk, and they'll be fighting for the interim belt as well as the WBC mandatory position. So it's a good fight. Obviously, if you want to be, because I know people are going to nitpick, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give Benavidez some credit. I can't sit here and hate and nitpick, because I've been asking him for years to go up to light heavyweight. So now he's finally going up there. He's fighting a guy in Alexander Gvozdyk who was former champion, former lineal champion, only has one loss, and that loss is to a guy that I truly feel, and it's just me, guys. I don't know how you feel about Artur Beterbiev, but me personally, I don't think Artur Beterbiev is ever going to lose a fight. I think he will retire undefeated, and I don't care if Benavidez ever fights him. Benavidez can fight him. Jao Batai can fight him. I'm picking Beterbiev against the field. They don't want no smoke with Beterbiev. But that's the only guy he ever lost to, Gvozdyk. So I can't get mad at Benavidez for fighting him. Gvozdyk, he's the guy that, he after he lost to Beterbiev, he took a long layoff. Because, Beterbiev beats these guys up. They're never the same. He's a serious fighter. And he's won. Listen, he came back early last year in 2023, got back in the comeback trail, and went ahead and he's rolled out 3 victories. So he's on a 3-fight win streak against mostly nondescript opposition. The most notable name of those 3 names probably would be Richard Bolotniks, who, if you really follow the light heavyweight division, you would know that Bolotniks has been an opponent. He's fought a couple guys like Joshua Buatsi, Craig Richards. So yeah, but nonetheless, I'm gonna stop rambling here for a second. Listen, it's your boy BT, the Untouchable True School Sports Empire. There's 12 of you guys here. I only got 5 likes, so stop being stingy. Smash that like button so that the YouTube algorithms know that you rock with True School, that you like these live streams, that you're enjoying me talking about Benavidez moving up. Now, let's get to the comments, man, because I see a lot of interesting comments in the chat. So we got my man Facts Over Feelings. He says at 175, Benavidez is going to take all the belts. Remember what I said. I mean, look, his best scenario for that to play out is Bivol is going to have to be Beterbiev. But I'm telling you straight away right now, if Beterbiev is holding them belts, he's not taking anything. He might as well just mail it in. He ain't be no damn Artur Beterbiev. BT, what do you think? Do you think Morel will fall in the 175? No, I don't. I think Morel will stay at 68. How old is Beterbiev? Yeah, Beterbiev's old. Beterbiev is very old. Word Up is now see Word Up. He's criticizing Benavidez fighting Vozick, who's 36. Listen, Benavidez 37, and Vozic's on a 3-fight win streak, so it's not like he's just coming off of a fight. He's been active. He's been more active than a lot of people's favorite fighters, and he's a really good fighter. He was a lineal champion. He was Ukrainian Olympian. I believe he might have even won a medal. That's not a bad fight. You could do a lot worse in the light heavyweight division. Trust me, you could do a lot worse than a guy like Alexander Gvozdyk. Even now, even him at 36, you could still do a lot worse. He could have fought Michael Eifert. Would you guys been okay with Eifert? Do any of you guys even know who Michael Eifert is? He could have fought Michael Eifert, who is the #1 IBF contender who can't punch his way out of a wet paper bag. Would that be okay? Would you guys like to fight Michael Eifert? I mean, look, I'm not no Benavidez fanboy, but I'm fair. He's fighting a top guy, a guy that, if I'm being honest, when Bivol had his last fight, Bivol fought Lyndon Arthur his last fight. Lyndon Arthur ain't no great fighter. Vozdik was on the short list. Vozdik was a guy that challenged Bivol for that fight. Bivol picked the easiest opponent. So if I'm over here campaigning for Bivol to fight him and he's good enough for Bivol, why is he not good enough for David Benavidez? That's just being fair. But it's a good fight. Obviously Benavidez I think will go in as a favorite because Benavidez is younger, he's stronger, he's quicker. Vozdik, style-wise, when you break it down, we know what Benavidez brings to the table. We know big, strong kid, fast hands, volume puncher. But what's going to be intriguing about Benavidez at 175 now that he's actually going to be fighting guys, thank the Lord, he's fighting guys that are close to his size. Can he fight that same style and still be successful? Because listen, it's all well and good to be a guy who's this volume puncher at 168 when you're bigger than everybody. But when you're fighting guys that are actually your size, who've got championship level experience, that can punch with you and hurt you as well, you might have to make some adjustments. So if it gets to that point where Benavidez has to make some adjustments, I'm curious to see what adjustments or what tweaks to his style can he make, because all these years in interviews, I've heard seniors say it. I've heard David Benavidez himself say it, that he's got all this boxing ability, right? But he hasn't had to show it because he's been fighting guys that are not, his size, that, when he hits them, they generally tend to, over time, break down. So, look, it's beautiful days. Like, I know a lot of people, I've been seeing it all over social media today. I know a lot of people are sitting here, they're complaining, they're moaning, they're saying, oh, this is bad for boxing. Canelo doesn't want to fight him. It's a stain of Canelo's legacy. Look, I'm going to say it like this, all right? If Canelo not fighting Benavidez surprises you, I have to really question how closely you follow Canelo's career. Because, and I know people don't like when I bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up. If you follow the whole Demetrius Andrade situation with Canelo Alvarez, when he was at 154 and 160, and you saw how that was handled, then it really shouldn't be any shock to you, that he's not fighting Benavidez. That's Eddie Reynoso is his trainer, but he's also his manager, and he's a very good manager, and he knows what works and he knows what doesn't work. And one of the things that is not going to work for Canelo Alvarez is going to be him fighting David Benavidez, a bigger, stronger guy with a lot of volume. Now, could Canelo Alvarez theoretically beat Benavidez? I think so. I think Canelo could counterpunch and wear him down, but it's a hard fight. Why fight him when you can fight guys like, Terrence Crawford? Terrence Crawford's a guy, you can fight Terrence Crawford, a guy who's going to come up 3 weight classes, a guy that's going to bring a lot to the table. He's a bigger name in the sport now. That's a big event for boxing. So he's got all the options in the world, Canelo Alvarez. So I'm not surprised. It should, and if it's surprising you, then you haven't been paying attention to Canelo Alvarez's career. I'm not even mad at him. Like, if you notice, I'm not even mad at Canelo. I know how he is. Like, there's no reason to get mad at Canelo. And I know people are gonna say, "Oh, well, Canelo, he fought this guy," and they're gonna start, reeling off names and whatnot. But listen, anytime it came down for Canelo to fight a guy that was young, strong, in his prime, that was actually like a top prime A-level fighter. I'm not talking about like Callum Smith, because that's ridiculous. Anybody who knew what they were talking about when that fight got signed knew that Callum Smith had not a snowball's chance in hell, because they saw how he looked in the John Ryder fight, and they knew he wasn't going to do anything with no damn Canelo Alvarez. So I'm not mad at Canelo. It's business as usual. It's his mo. He's gonna probably fight like a Crawford or a Charlo or something like that, and it is what it is, man. There's no reason to get upset. Now, MEZBX, shout out to my guy MEZBX, a longtime viewer of the channel. Always good to see you in the chat, MEZ. He says that Samson Lukowitz is saying that a $55 million deal was offered to Canelo, and he's saying it's capped. I just saw that too, and honestly, really and truthfully, like, Canelo Alvarez is about his money. He's about his paper. If there was really a legitimate $55 million offer to Canelo Alvarez to fight Benavidez, I can't see him turning it down. And it's the same thing. Like, look, even though I like Demetrius Andre, I was a big, especially back then, big Demetrius Andre fan. When there was that talk about Andre supposedly offering Canelo Alvarez like something similar in that ballpark, 40, 50 million, I didn't even believe it back then. And I wanted to. Trust me, I wanted to, but there was no way for me to really believe that back then. But, yeah, 4908 says Canelo is going to lose the respect of a lot of Mexican fans if he ducks Benavidez. But will he really? Because let's think about it. If Canelo Alvarez fights, let's just say, Terrence Crawford, it's going to be... I'll say it like this. If Canelo Alvarez fights Terrence Crawford, that fight has a chance to be the biggest fight in boxing since Mayweather-Pacquiao. I think that because you're going to have the Mexican fan base up with Canelo Alvarez, along with now the new star power of a guy like Terrence Crawford coming off the heels of the Errol Spence fight. So I think that fight has a chance to do some serious business. And there's going to be the whole narrative of Terrence Crawford jumping up 3 weight classes, trying to really make history and do something crazy like that nobody thought he could do. If he fights Crawford, or even if he fights a Jaime Munguia who's from Mexico, I don't think people will hold Benavidez over his head too long. That's just me. Because one thing I learned about boxing over the years is that the fans and people have very short memories. They do. It's just the truth. They really, really do. Because there's fighters that I know, good, solid, hardworking fighters that people are quick to forget all the great things they did, you know? It's like, I'll give you an example. Look at a guy like Stephen Fulton. Stephen Fulton beat some good fighters, right? But then he loses to Inoue, and now he's a bum. And everybody's downplaying him, right? So you got that. Just to use somebody I know personally, look at Angelo Leo. He was champion. He was in some good fights. He loses a fight. Now, then they were saying he wasn't that good. So it's just how it is, man. Boxing fans and the world in general, people have short memories. Not everyone has the time to sit there and think about boxing all day. You know, people have lives and jobs and families, so they're going to forget things. At the end of the day, all people want to do is be entertained and see good fights. That's all it comes down to. So if Canelo fights Crawford, which is going to be a big event, or Munguia, which would be a big fight for Mexico, I really don't think people are going to complain and harp too much about Benavidez. That's just me. But maybe I'm wrong. Canelo did fight Lara and Trout when he didn't have to, and I'm not a Canelo fan like that. What do you mean? Like, Lara... Trout was Trout was one of the top guys in the division. I mean, I guess, but like, again, I'm probably gonna sound like a bit of a hater, but like, I was never that high on Lara. Lara is a guy that I've always thought Lara was a little overrated, to be honest with you. He's a good fighter. Floyd made people believe that taking an L makes you trash. Yeah, he did. His whole image was based upon perfection. And to his credit, every time he went out there, he performed. Al Pal was good, champ. Does anybody here think Kovalev took a dive versus Canelo? You know, I've had that conversation before here on this channel. When I watched the fight, I kind of did. I did. Over time, I've talked to people, and now I don't really think that. But either way, I do think whether Kovalev took a dive or not in that fight, I think he was... It's safe to say that Kovalev was definitely compromised going into the fight because he just fought Anthony Yard. It was a real quick turnaround. He agreed to it, so you know it's on him. But he agreed to it. He took the money, and it was what it was. But as far as Benavidez, right, kind of just to stay on topic. And by the way, shout out to all 21 of you here. Do me a favor, smash that like button so you know this gets out to more people. Let's talk about Benavidez' big picture as a light heavyweight because that's really what I want to talk about. I really want to touch on Benavidez' big picture as a light heavyweight because This is what I've been waiting for his whole career, like for the last 3 4 years. I didn't care about the Canelo fight. I knew that the Dave Morrell Jr. fight was not really realistic. So we get to the subject of Beterbiev and Bivol. How does Benavidez match up with Bivol? How does Beterbiev or Benavidez match up with Beterbiev? Right. As far as Bivol, they're familiar. They have familiarity. Benavidez sparred Bivol out there at Wild Card West, or now they call it. I think they call it Churchill Boxing, out there in Santa Monica, and he was very adamant. He said that he beat the brakes off Bivol on sparring and this, that, and the third. But if there's anything that I know about boxing, I know that sparring and fighting is two different things. And Bivol, when he was talking about that, he pretty much said, "Look, I was just working on things, so it wasn't no fight to me, but it was a fight for him, pretty much." But that'd be a good fight because you got Benavidez, who has this volume, high pressure style. He's not a one punch guy, but then you got Bivol, who I think when you talk about the purest boxer in the sport, he might just be the purest boxer in the sport. And what I mean when I say that is he's probably the best of. He's probably the best as far as like transitioning from his offense to his defense and defense to offense. He's really good at doing that very seamlessly. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how he handles the volume of Benavidez. I actually think that's the more winnable fight for Benavidez because Bivol has shown time and time again, as great as he is as a boxer, and he's amazing, like he's top shelf. He doesn't have that punching power. I don't think he has the kind of punch power that will keep Benavidez honest for 12 rounds. That's just me. He's going to have to sit there and fight Benavidez. I don't think he wins that kind of fight with him. Now, Beterbiev, on the other hand, that's really the interesting fight for so many reasons. Number one, before I even get into the styles, Beterbiev is a guy that Benavidez could have fought years ago. I've said this many times, but in case nobody's ever heard it, I'll let it be known again. He could have fought Beterbiev, 3 or 4 years ago when he missed weight. I think it was for the Romero Angulo fight. When he missed weight, the WBC took Benavidez out the 168 rankings. They placed him into the 175 rankings. He was the #1 contender. He could have fought Beterbiev right then and there for the title. Benavidez and Sampson and all parties involved with their team decided that that wasn't the best thing to do at the time, and that's their prerogative. And they kindly asked to be reinstated to the 168 rankings. Now, listen, you can call it what you want. I thought I thought that was a way of avoiding the fight because my thing is, why wouldn't you want to fight in a weight class where you're bigger, stronger, immediately for a world title? There had to have been some sort of reservations of how he could perform at 175 at that time. So I kind of held that against him for a while because I wanted to see him fight Beterbiev because, he could have fought Beterbiev. Instead, he went to 168. He started fighting like the Kyron Davises and these kind of guys, and they weren't like, the fights that I wanted to see or boxing fans wanted to see. So now we get here, and Beterbiev is now, what is he, almost 40 years old. Benavidez, you would probably say, is, closer to his prime or in his prime. So on paper, age-wise, it does look like a winnable for Benavidez. But my thing is, I don't look at Beterbiev like most fighters. Beterbiev, to me, is what they call an outlier. He is the exception to the rule. Yeah, he's 39, but that man, he lives that life. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't do things that will hinder him. He's really strong. He's so focused and committed to his training that he doesn't even watch boxing. Like he just goes to the gym and he's with his family. That's all it is with Beterbiev. And even Benavidez knows. Well, he knows what time it is. He knows Beterbiev is the real deal. And so I just think that that's going to be a fight where Benavidez is going to have to take maybe 2, maybe 3 fights before he's ready for Beterbiev. Honestly, and even then it may not be enough because that man can do it all. Arch Beterbiev can box. He can punch. He can slug. He can body punch. There's not a damn thing he can't do in that boxing ring. He's one of the most complete fighters in boxing, and it's gonna be unlike anything Benavidez has ever experienced in his career. And I've said this many times for years. I've said it many times for years, and I'm gonna keep that same energy now that he's in the weight class. I've said for many years, if and when Benavidez ever fights Artur Beterbiev, he's gonna get 80 holes punched right through him, and I'm sticking to that. So either way, I think it's good for the light heavyweight division to get Benavidez. It's going to add some much-needed star power to the division, a guy that people want to see fight against big names. That's a great thing. That's a great thing for the division. Now, I want to address this comment, and he said, you claim to be a true boxing fan, but you're not mad that Canelo Bentley ducked the top challenger no respect for the belt in the sport. I'm not mad because I know who Canelo Alvarez is, and I've already accepted it. That's why I'm not mad. I'm not mad because I know how Canelo Alvarez operates because I paid a lot of attention when he was supposed to fight Demetrius Andrade all those years at 54 and 60. So I already knew based upon that how he was gonna deal with Benavidez, and I was justified in my beliefs. Then on top of that, let's just be real. Canelo Alvarez is a smaller guy. He turned pro, I think, what was it, welterweight when he was like a kid? Welterweight 54 pounder. He's two weight classes at best short of being a natural 68 pounder, right? Benavidez beating up on Canelo is not impressive. Like if he would have beat Canelo, that's not impressive to me. It's more impressive, and this is where I'm giving him. This is where I'm giving David Benavidez his respect. It's more impressive to me for him to go up to 175, fight a guy like Vosdick, and then fight the Bivol Beterbiev winner, than to sit there and fight Canelo Alvarez. I don't care. I don't care about the money. I mean, I know he cares about the money because he's the one getting paid. But I'm saying, as a fan and someone who really loves the sport, I don't. I'd rather him fight a light heavyweight, and that's why I'm excited that he's fighting a light heavyweight. Victor Torres. Victor Torres is telling me to say, stop hating on the Mexican monster. I'm gonna tell you like this. Now that he's finally done what I've been asking for all these years, while half the guys in the chat, while all you guys in the chat were salivating over this matchup that I really and truthfully did not care at all about, I was begging for him with the 175 because I knew Canelo Alvarez was never going to fight him. And I knew that he was wasting his time. And I'm glad that he finally got to that point and he did what was best for himself. So, good. Now that he's done that, he will get some more respect put on his name. Because everyone thinks that I'm just this big Benavidez hater or whatever. Listen, I like watching him fight. I like when he if you go back, the videos are still up. Everything I'm saying, you guys can go dig in my video archives and you can see what I was saying about Benavidez when he first, burst onto the scene and he was fighting guys like Porky Medina and these kind of guys. I liked him. It's just when he stayed at 68 too long and refused to move up, Yeah. Did you give Bivol credit for beating Canelo at 175? I did. I gave Bivol credit for beating Canelo at 175 because the odds were stacked against Bivol. They didn't even play his damn national anthem before the fight. They disrespected him because of the whole Russia thing. He was on a matchroom promotion, and they just treated him like he was a whatever fight. They disrespected him. The whole fight we talking about him fighting Makabu and all these guys. They talked about Bivol like he was a bum. Listen, Bivol deserves all the credit for beating Canelo. Honestly. He said, hold on, what was that one comment at? I'm glad David beat Boo Boo like a drum and woke you up. Nah, David Benavidez beating up Demetrius Andrade, that's not what woke me up about Andrade. What woke me up about Andrade was Demetrius Andrade and how he ducked Zach Parker and Johnny Beck. You can give Bivol credit and not Benavidez, double standard. How is it a double standard? Benavidez is bigger than Bivol. Benavidez is bigger than Bivol. How? They're not going to stack the odds and know Benavidez can fight the way Bivol had him. They wouldn't even play Bivol's national anthem. And you want to sit here and act like Bivol fighting Canelo and Benavidez fighting Canelo are the same thing? It's not the same thing. But regardless, Benavidez just gets credit. He gets his credit and he gets his just due for beating Andrade because Canelo Alvarez couldn't find his balls all those years to fight Andrade. And that's just the truth. Boo Boo was old just like Darrell, Lemieux, and Gvozdyk. That's a bullshit double standard. It's not a bullshit double standard. If you understand boxing politics, it's not a bullshit double standard. And if your eyesight works, Benavidez is bigger than Bivol. So what do you think about David versus David Morrell? In a perfect world, that's the fight that will be happening next at 68. But again, Benavidez won't fight David Morrell because, I think Ronnie Shields wound up saying that they needed more time. And that's not a fight that makes a lot of money for him. Benavidez is at that part of his career where he wants to make money. He wants to really establish himself as that next pay-per-view star. So to each his own. Benavidez, listen, Benavidez is better. You're not, M-Easy, you're not getting the point. I'm using the national anthem thing to illustrate a greater point. And the greater point is that with them doing things like that, that they're telling you we don't give a fuck about Bivol. They're telling you that. We don't care about Bivol. He's the B-side. Screw him. He's gonna fight Makabu. People weren't even talking about Bivol going into the fight. So how are you gonna say, like, I don't understand, bro. Like, did you pay attention to that fight week? And then, shit, they still try to rob Bivol. If Bivol didn't box a perfect fight, they were gonna rob him. Cause I remember one of those scorecards was pretty close. I'm just saying, man, it's not the same thing. You can sit here and say it's a double standard. It's not the same thing. David Morrell is huge for 160. I actually saw Canelo came to a show in Miami, and I saw David Morrell go up to Canelo, and David Morrell was like, psh, he's like 5 times the size of Canelo. That shit was crazy. Benavidez, to go back to what M-Easy was saying, Benavidez has more political like push behind him in boxing than a guy like Bivol. Benavidez got Samson Lukowicz behind him. Samson Lukowicz is one of the most powerful, most influential men in boxing. And I really wish maybe next year when I go to one of these conventions, I'm gonna go to the convention. I'm gonna film Samson Lukowicz when I go to these conventions, so you can see how the presidents of sanctioning bodies, they just like adore Samson and how his fighters get like treated better than most. When you have a guy like that behind you, you have more on your side than a guy like Bivol. That's just the truth. And if you could choose to accept that or not accept it, but I'm giving you the truth. Whether you want to accept it or not accept it, that's the damn truth. Bivol still had an advantage as a bigger guy, just like Benavidez would. He has that advantage. I'll give you that. But people wasn't saying it. But before they fought, before Bivol and Canelo actually fought, people weren't saying that. You saying that now because you saw Canelo get exposed by Bivol. But not when the fight got signed, it was, oh, Bivol's a cherry pick. Bivol didn't have this many knockouts in X amount of fights. He should fight Benavidez. Why is he fighting this dude who gets no knockouts? Because remember, Bivol had just fought that dude, Salamov, the last fight before he fought Canelo. And he didn't look great. It was a very similar performance to what he had when he fought Lyndon Arthur. Yeah, Raw Dog saying it right. The LDBC called Bivol a Euro bum. People were saying Bivol was a freaking bum before he fought Canelo. Now Bivol's the truth, and he's the greatest pure boxer in the sport to everyone. But before he fought Canelo, he was a whatever fighter. Let's not have revisionist history here on True School Sports. We don't do revisionist history here on True School Sports. But nonetheless, guys, look, y'all can keep getting your Benavidez questions in, your Canelo questions in, your comments, and I'll get to them. Make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the super chat, all that good stuff. But look, man, that ain't the only big news that happened today. And I know M-Easy, I know you're not saying, you didn't say Bivol was a cherry pick, and you're not part of the LDBC, but I'm saying that was the narrative going into the fight, and Bivol wasn't being treated with any respect going into the fight. So much so to the point, well, I'm going to bring it up again, where his national anthem didn't get played. That's disrespectful. I don't care what's going on in other countries. That's disrespectful. Okay? So with that being said, look, today we also had Frank Martin and Gervonta Davis. They've agreed to a fight. So that's going to be Tank's next fight. And I've seen people complaining about it. I'm not mad at that fight. I like that fight. There's not many lightweights, realistically, that Tank could fight right now that would be a better fight than Frank Martin. You know, Frank Martin, he's a good fighter. He's beaten some good fighters. He's a southpaw like Tank. He's explosive like Tank. He can punch. I mean, I'll tell you this. You guys tell me, in the top 10, top 15 of the lightweight division, outside of Frank Martin, from an athletic standpoint, how many lightweights could match Gervonta Davis in the athleticism or explosiveness department? Because I can't name too many. Frank Martin is one of the only guys I feel could actually bring something to the table in those departments, you know? I like that fight, man. It's better than what Tank's been giving us. Like look, you look at the Ryan Garcia fight. Ryan was weight drained. He had the clause in there. Ryan had to come down. He wasn't his best, right? That's what people say, and that's what happened. Isaac Cruz. A lot of people weren't really giving Isaac Cruz much of a chance going into that fight. Isaac Cruz gave him a good fight. His stock has went up, but look, man, I can't complain about Frank Martin. I can't. That's gonna be a fun fight. You're gonna get some good exchanges. Like, I know everyone's gonna say, well, Tank needs to fight Shakur. Tank needs to fight Haney. He's not fighting them guys. First, Haney's at 40. Tank ain't going to 40 for no damn Devin Haney. And he's not going to 40 for Sabril Matias, okay? And he's not fighting no damn Shakur because Shakur just had one of the boringest performances in boxing history against Edwin De Los Santos. It was such a boring performance that it was like up there with Chris Bird and DeVar Williamson. It was getting to that level. If you've seen that fight, if you know, you know. Like, and I like Shakur. I'm a big Shakur Stevenson fan, but it wasn't no great performance. So he went ahead and made things harder for himself. He's southpaw and he's good too. So what is it to complain about? You guys tell me, what is it to complain about with the Frank Martin fight? Y'all got mad at Frank Martin because he ducked the smoke and he didn't take the offer to fight Shakur Stevenson for the WBC title. He's turning around and he's fighting Gervonta Davis, all right, a guy that many people believe is the best lightweight in the division, a guy that many people believe is some people believe is a top 10 pound for pound fighter. Why not? I don't see what the issue is. Now, Emezy says, I want Tank versus Shakur. I don't care about his last performance. I ain't mad at that. That's still a great fight. That's a great fight. I think, Shakur Stevenson will have to go out there and be his best. How did Martin look against the German cat? You're talking about Artur Haratunian. I believe he was a gold medalist. I could be wrong. Was he a gold or was he a bronze? Can y'all, let me fact check myself. I want to make sure I get this right. Artur. Y'all let me know in the chat if you figure it out before me. But Artur Haratunian was a good fighter. He don't got a name or nothing like that, but he was good. I mean, if you follow the build up to that fight and you just look at, okay, Artur Haratunian, if you look at the way he talked, he exuded the confidence of a top contender. Artur Haratunian. I'm pretty sure he was a gold medalist. I want to make sure I'm correct, but like, I thought Frank was good. Like, I thought Frank in the last part of the fight, he showed explosiveness in the later rounds, which I thought was encouraging. A lot of fighters these days are front runners. A lot of fighters these days, they can't even punch hard going past the 4th, 5th round. Frank Martin had real thump in his hands going into the 10th, 11th, to 12th round. So I couldn't get upset about the performance. I thought, yeah, it could have been better. Yeah, I wanted to see more from Frank. I think Frank's still maturing himself in the sport. Like, you watch Frank Martin fight, he's winning a lot of these fights off of straight athleticism. If you watch him fight, he sometimes he gets caught in between, should I be the boxer or should I be the puncher? And I think his ring awareness could improve, and it's going to need to be at his absolute best to even beat a guy like Gervonta Davis. But, I mean, it's a fun fight, man. You're going to get two power punching, explosive southpaws who are going to go in there and try to take each other's heads off. I mean, what more do you want in the lightweight division? It's a good fight. Pitbull, Haney, Tio versus Tank. I'll buy any of them, but Tank and Shakur, I won't buy. Huh. That's funny. Shout out to my man Hyro. Hold on, Hyro. But before I answer your question, Hyro, I gotta check you, Hyro, because you come in here all the time on these lives and you say, oh, PBC this, PBC that, BT. When are you going to talk about PBC? I'm doing a whole live about PBC, and you want to come in here and you want to ask me about Bam versus Gallo. Now, I'm going to answer your question. I like Bam versus Gallo. Bam versus Gallo is a good fight. It's Bam Rodriguez trying to be the Randy Orton of boxing, the legend killer. He's trying to kill another legend. He's trying to beat another guy from that old era in Gallo. Gallo don't like Bam because Gallo said he's not impressed with Bam. He doesn't think Bam has really done anything too impressive in boxing thus far. So now Bam has a chance to shut Gallo up, and to me, it's a great chance for Bam to really get a top guy on his resume, another top guy on his resume, because Look at Guile Estrada. Everyone he's ever fought. I don't care if it's Romo Gonzalez. I don't care if it's Rumbleside. Everyone Guile ever fought, he has defeated in boxing. Nobody has ever gotten one over on good old Guile Estrada. And a lot of your guys' favorite fighters can't say that. My favorite fighter can't say that. Romo Gonzalez can't say that. Canelo sure as hell can't say that. A lot of guys can't say that, but Guile can say that. So he's top fighter, great counter puncher. I'm looking forward to seeing how Bam deals with the intelligent counter-punching style of a Guile. And again, it's a fight you can't get mad at. I'm sure they'll have it in Arizona. I'll be there. I'm mad at all these fighters. They need to stop fighting each other. Martin should have fought Shakur. He should have, but I mean, I'm not gonna. I think he should have fought Shakur. But am I really gonna sit here and get mad at him for fighting Tank? No, I can't. From your standpoint, what is Frank Martin's best tool that can give Gervonta Davis problems? I think he's got to go in there with Tank, and he's got to really get in his chest. I think he's got to get in that pocket, keep his defense nice and tight, and definitely he's not gonna be Isak Cruz. He's not gonna be no Mexican fighter, right? He's not gonna throw that amount of punches, but I think anytime Frank Martin gets in that pocket, when he needs to make every punch in that, when he gets in the pocket on the inside, he needs to make Tank feel every last one of them. He needs to make Tank fight when he doesn't want to fight. He's got to turn Tank and just keep that volume on him and really make him feel his punching power, because he's got the explosiveness. He's got the punching power to really make this an interesting fight. I think Frank's boxing IQ and his lack of ring awareness is going to cost him in this fight, because, like I said, sometimes Frank doesn't know his punching distance. Sometimes the Ghost struggles of knowing when to be the boxer and when to be the puncher. It showed a lot in that fight against Artur Haratunian. But fighters can get better. They can develop. They can learn. And I like the Ghost. I like Frank Martin. I think he's going to go in there and give the boxing fans a good fight. And I think when people see Frank Martin versus Gervonta Davis, it'll be a fight that doesn't disappoint. I really think that. If you told me, BT, name me 5 fights in the lightweight division you could make, this actually would have been one of the 5 fights I would have made. From a stylistic standpoint, it's a really good fight. Hyro said, I'm just kidding. Who cares about those little people that can't sell? I told you that rollout was coming soon. Hey, it's cool that they announced 2 fights, Hyro, but PBC, they got about 100, 200 other more fighters. They need to roll them out. You only care. See, that's the problem with you boxing fans. Some of you boxing fans, you only care about the big names. I care about the whole sport. So all the guys, the undercard fighters, they need to roll them out. They need to get them active, because they got a lot of fighters. Caleb said they sparred and it got hectic, and so Frank won't be starstruck by Tank. Exactly, and that's the thing with Tank. A lot of these guys, they fight Tank and they get starstruck by him. It's almost like they believe in the propaganda that Leonard Ellerby and maybe the promotion sells them, and then they go on there and they get beat up like Ryan Garcia did. I can't see that being the issue with Frank Martin. I really can't. It's a great fight. It's a really good matchup. If you're complaining about Gervonta Davis versus Frank Martin, in my opinion, I just think you're a miserable person. That's what I think. It's a good fight. Hyro says, you care about guys like Marcus Brown. I do, because I care about all the boxing. I care about the whole sport. So, yeah, I do care about Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown, I know he's at cruiserweight now. He needs to, they need to get him active. Right, Hyro? Get PBC in the cruiserweight division. But shout out to everyone here. Get your questions in. Interesting day in boxing. All these fights getting announced. I feel like for Alexander Gvozdyk too, kind of going back to Benavidez for a second to talk from the perspective of the nail. Like Gvozdyk, man, he's got a chance to really let the people know how great he really is, because this is a guy that many years ago when him, Bivol, and Beterbiev were champions, there were people out there that thought that Alexander Gvozdyk might have been the best of the bunch, and then ultimately he fought Beterbiev. He got beat up by him, stopped, and then we didn't hear from him for a long time. But now he's getting the opportunity to fight one of the biggest young stars in boxing in Benavidez. And look, we know what he brings to the table. We know that Gvozdyk has that long, rangy European style, but he's got a deadly right hand, and he's got some pretty good athleticism with him. So I think it's fair to say, it's debatable. You could say Andre they're playing if you want. I mean, I think Vozick has a great argument for being the best opponent Dave Benavidez has ever fought. You guys, let me know what you think. Where would you guys rank Alexander Gvozdyk as far as the Benavidez opponents between like Plant and Andre and these kind of guys? Let me know. Frank has the best footwork that Tank has faced. Yeah, Caleb made a great point. That's probably the main thing. I think if when Frank gets in close, not only just making Tank feel the explosiveness of Frank Martin, but also that footwork, the way he's able to pivot and turn and sidestep, those are going to be key things that, if applied correctly, will give Frank Martin a chance. Ronald Gavril was the best David has faced. Technically, he was, because Ronald Gavril, a lot of people thought that Ronald Gavril beat David Benavidez. And truth be told, shit, I thought back in the day, I actually thought Ronald Gavril beat David Benavidez. But they did a rematch, and David won, so it was what it was. But, to be fair to David, that was a very, very young David. Obviously, now he's a lot more mature. He's more seasoned. He's seen more styles. If they were to fight, if Ronald's still boxing, if Frank fought Ronald right now, or not Frank, if David fought Ronald right now, Ronald wouldn't see the 5th round. That's what I think. Frank Mark can use his slickness against yeah, he could. Frank Mark is definitely more than capable of being able to use his slickness against Tank. Again, people have complained for a long time. Like one knock I've heard on Tank for the longest time is from certain boxing fans is Tank fights these undersized, flat-footed Mexican fighters. Well, guess what? Frank Martin is not undersized, and he's not flat-footed, and he's not Mexican. He's just slick, explosive, hard-punching southpaw. So I'm not upset about it at all. I just hope, I hope when Frank Martin fights him, that there's he's not, the moment's not too big for him, right? Because this is a guy in his last fight. He just fought Artur Haratunian at the Cosmopolitan, one of the smallest venues in Vegas, in front of a non-sold-out crowd. He's probably gonna fight Tank like in the Barclays Center or like T-Mobile Arena, and them tickets are gonna be sold out because Tank moves tickets. He sells a lot of tickets. He's one of the only fighters in America you could really say is a box office attraction, as Leonard Ellaby will always remind you. I'm just hoping that the moment isn't too big for him and he's able to handle it all and go in there and give the best account of himself. Hyro says, "Don't worry, BT. Steven Espinoza is trying to kill a second network. I'm not really worried about Steven Espinoza, but God bless him." Is that a door next to you, BT? No, that's not a door next to me. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the set. Just worry about BT. Worry about True School, all right? Whatever this is what it is, but it's not a door. What is your prediction for the big card in Japan tomorrow? It's a good card, man. I hope everyone tunes in. It's gonna be a great live. We're gonna be I'll be live for that card. Pops will be live for Edgar Berlanga at night, so you'll get 2 live fight reactions in one day and a lot of content in between. I think Junto should win. Junto should beat Santiago. Santiago's going to come forward and be very game. I just think Junto's too big, too skilled, too conditioned for him. But Junto gets hit a lot. Junto is not he's not an in-away level defensive type of fighter. So I feel like Santiago will have his chances to hurt Junto, and it'll be a good fight, but Junto should get a stoppage. And then the fight that's really interesting on that card is Takuma Inoue versus Joan Akaz. And Kaz is a former champion. He's coming with a lot of pedigree. But I like Takuma. I think Takuma will stay a bit more sound, a bit more fundamentally sound, and he'll wind up outboxing him. Jerwin, I don't think Jerwin and Kaz will not be the puncher at 118 that he was at 115. So he's gonna have to find a different way to win this kind of fight. So I'll go with Takuma by UD. I'll go with Junto by stoppage. Those are my 2 predictions. Frank Martin fought Artur at the Cosmo. That was a fill in the main event. Remember, Donaire was supposed to be the main event and got moved. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but what I'm trying to say is this. All I'm trying to say is this. The Cosmo is very small. It's a smaller stage to be on than where he's about to fight next against Tank. All I'm saying is I hope mentally he's able to handle that so that the boxing fans and just everyone who's in the tuning gets the best fight possible. That's all I'm saying. We're 45 minutes deep, guys. So look, y'all got 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. But listen, man, it's been a great day here in Vegas, man. Just living that boxing life. You know, I'm in the gym. Uh, been here, my boy Eric Lanzis Jr. getting the best training in. Eric Lanzis Jr. Huh? Huh? We said what happened in 2 hours. 2 hours? Yeah. Shit, I might. You smelled that food. You smelled that food. I smelled that food, and now I want some food, man. Derek James, but yeah, what I was saying is, yeah, I've just been here in Vegas. Eric's been training with Angelo Leo, and it's been great. It's been great time just living that boxing life, and yeah, I'll be live Saturday, and yeah, just keep tuning in, man. Keep tuning in, keep rock with your boy, because a lot of great things are coming. Halo says, BT, I didn't catch the replays, but I'm glad I caught you live. Yeah, man. Every day is different. You know, some days I'm able to go live earlier, some days it's later. Today's one of them late days. But either way, you know, we get it done, especially during 90 days of boxing. I told you guys a long time. I told you guys back in January, I said, look, man, I'm going to give you guys 90 straight days. We're already a third of the way through. What happened to Tank's run as a fighter? Does he have potential to be in the Hall of Fame, and is it wasted because of star power? I'm a little confused on how that question was phrased, but Tank, I mean, if Tank Davis if he fights the guys like Haney and Shakur and the TFB Moes, or even like a Subrama Matias, he moves up. If he fights and beats a couple of those guys, then obviously, yes. I think with his combination of what he did for the boxing business as far as selling tickets, along with maybe a better resume, that will get him in the Hall of Fame. Because you got to remember, the Hall of Fame is like a lot of things in this world. It's very political. So you don't necessarily got to be a guy that beat all these great fighters. If you were a guy that was entertaining and was a net positive for the boxing industry, you will get in the Hall of Fame. Look at Arturo Gotti, a really good fighter. Won some titles, was champion, but he's really in the Hall of Fame more so for the fights with Ivy Robinson that was Fight of the Year, and the fights with Mickey Ward that were Fight of the Year. You know, they didn't really care that he won or lost. They just cared that he was great for boxing. So because Tank sold so many tickets, if he's able to get a couple big names of his era on his resume, yes, he will go to the Hall of Fame. Hyro says, Jaime Munguia is going to be Canelo's ass, and Canelo can't hide behind Al Heyman. Well, you got to remember, Jaime Munguia is still with Golden Boy Promotions, and Oscar might be petty. He might tell Al Heyman, hey, forget you. We got our own plans. And maybe Jaime Munguia goes and he fights Edgar Berlanga just out of spite. You know, boxing promoters and people in this industry, they tend to sometimes sacrifice what's good for the sport and for the business for just their own ego. So don't be surprised if that fight doesn't happen. Have you seen the exhibition between Inoue and Diego Higa 2 or 3 years ago? Inoue kind of, no, I've heard about it. I never watched it, but I've heard about it. I'll have to check it out. Let me see. Archer's climb up the ladder began with the Trace Patterson fights way before Ward. Yeah, they did. And he said, is Floyd still... Wait, what was the other comment? Who should Jared Anderson fight next after this dude? Jermaine Franklin? No, like, Jermaine Franklin was... a Jermaine Franklin kind of a fighter is who Jared Anderson's supposed to be fighting now. Not in his next fight. He's supposed to be fighting Jermaine Franklin right now. This dude he shouldn't be fighting, period. Riyad Miri is barely a heavyweight. He got knocked out at cruiserweight, and I know people like to say, "Oh, Riyad Miri was competitive in that fight." No, man, he's barely a heavyweight, man. Like Jared Anderson's supposed to be like a top contender in the division. So he should be fighting guys that are like top 15. I don't even care if it's a guy that's 15th. Just fight somebody in the top 15. Riyad Miri ain't it, man. But if I had it my way, Jared Anderson would fight Martin Bacoli. You know, a guy that's middle of the rankings, good fighter, solid heavyweight. You know, that's the kind of fight I'll look at for Jared Anderson. Something like that. But again, in a perfect world, Jermaine Franklin would be right now, and then you would go like Martin Bacoli, or like maybe the winner of Joseph Parker versus Zhang. That could be a fight, something like that. But this ain't it. Harold wants to know, when are we gonna get a call in? I'll call you after this live. I know I've been. I'll call you after this live. 'Cause I told you I'd call you today, but tonight, I'll call you tonight, Harold. Riyad Miri is a guy who couldn't even cut it at bridgeweight. That's what I'm saying, man. He couldn't cut it at cruiserweight. He couldn't cut it at bridgeweight. He beat Tony Yoka, right? But like I'm not trying to down no fighters, but like Tony Yoka, he was a great amateur, gold medalist, all that. But he's like the Audley Harrison of France. Like he's not no. Everyone he's fought in the pros has beaten the brakes off of him, and Riyad Miri just barely beat him, right? So it's like we know Top Rank picked him for a reason. They're not dumb. Brad Goodman's like the best matchmaker like in history of the sport. They know what they're doing over there. Raw Dog says Top Rank knows Jared. It ain't it. I mean, look, I'm not with the biggest guy of Jared Anderson, but maybe they do. Maybe they do. Who knows? You forgot that Fernando Beltran runs the show. Yeah, it's true. Zanford Promotions. Okay, but does Canelo want to work with Zanford Promotions? We don't know that. Is Floyd Mayweather still the smartest boxer the sport has ever seen? Listen, Floyd is very smart. He didn't just master the game in the ring. He mastered the whole fight game, the industry, everything. You got people love him if they hate him. He's polarizing, but like he's great. You can't take it from him. He was great. BT, my birthday is Monday, and you know I'm gonna say, but I'm 23. Who does Ioka fight after Bam took the fight that Ioka wants? That's a great question. I think Ioka should fight his mandatory challenger. Stop filing exemptions. Stop being difficult in negotiations. Fight your damn mandatory. His mandatory challenger is John Scrappy Ramirez. Fight John Scrappy Ramirez. It goes back to what I said last night in last night's live. I went on a whole rant last night about mandatory challengers and how mandatory challengers continue to get devalued in boxing. Well, look, fight John Scrappy Ramirez. Ain't no better option. If not John Scrappy Ramirez, if Kosai Tanaka is successful on Saturday and becomes champion, there you go. You got a rematch and a unification fight. So either one of those is good. That's what I'm saying. EK Trans said it best. He said Ioka fought a bum. I'm not gonna call Josper Perez a bum, but he fought an overmatched opponent in Josper Perez. He don't need an exemption. His last fight was a freaking exemption. So you want an exemption after you got basically a tune-up fight. He was stealing money fighting Josper Perez. But yeah, shout out to everybody. I wonder how long Top Rank will keep Jared Anderson on a leash. Brad Goodman has been very careful after Charles Martin hurt him, which is why I don't understand why he can't get better from fighting Uber. That's what I'm saying. He needs to continue to develop and get that confidence in the ring. Because one thing about Jared Anderson, man, I think he needs to develop in a lot of ways. It's not just physically in the ring, but it's mentally as a fighter. Mentally, I don't think his mind is the sharpest in boxing right now. No, I haven't seen him, Arab. Jose Lardet, I haven't seen him. You got to put me on game. Put me on game, man. Put me on game. Who's Jose? But yeah, last 5 minutes, guys. Get your questions in. At this point, you guys can ask the non-boxing questions too, and I'll answer them. We chilling right now. Tomorrow's day 35, but today's day 34, so we're gonna enjoy the last remaining 5 minutes here on day 34. I'll tell you guys this, man. Coming to Las Vegas so many times over the years, every time I come out to Las Vegas, it feels like less and less like I'm visiting. I feel like I'm just home. So, who knows, man? Maybe these next couple years, we finally make that move to Las Vegas, man. I love being here, being around the fight game, just living the sport, being in the gyms, being around top fighters. It makes me love boxing even more being out here in Vegas. So, who knows? Who should Shakur fight next? Shakur Stevenson should fight. Who else? Let me see. You can't fight Tank. You can't fight Devin. I don't know. I mean, if I kept Navarrete, if he wins the title against Baranchik, that's probably the fight. Are you happy that Al Heyman is making good fights? I'm happy when any promoter is making good fights, but yes, I'm happy he's making some good fights, and I hope it continues. Jared Anderson versus Jalalov is the fight for the future, but Jalalov will school him. Everyone, look. Like, I've seen Jalalov fight. He's good, but I'm sorry, guys. I don't see it. Like, I don't see it. Like, he's a good fighter. He's skillful. But I'm not as high on Jalalov as some of you guys are. Like, he's a good southpaw. He's tall. He's big. He can punch. I got to see a little more from Jalalov before I get, like, overly excited. Do you think Japan will take over the lower divisions in terms of business and promoting? They already do that. Japan already runs the lower weight classes from a business standpoint because, look, even the champions in those weight classes, they eventually, to get the biggest payday, they got to go to Japan. It don't matter if we're talking about them fighting Kenshiro or Inoue. They got to always do that. Jalalov has been matched easier than Big Baby, and the dude is like 29. He has. Huh? I am hungry. I got 4 minutes, man. I got 4 more minutes. You forgot Jalalov is the AIBA World Champion. No, I know he's the AIBA World Champion, but that's still different than professional boxing. I've watched him fight a couple times in the pros. He's good, but like I don't rate him as highly. I don't class him as highly as some of the guys I've seen. Like Hrgovic, I saw Hrgovic fight once in the pros, like in his like when he fought like Greg Corbin, or like even early in his career before Greg Corbin, and I was like, no, Hrgovic is the truth. People say Jalalov will beat Hrgovic right now, and I think you're crazy. I hope Kazuda Ioka is ready to travel to the YouTube theater because I'm sick of these Japanese fighters fighting in Japan. Hiro, I got one question for you, man, because you always hate on Kazuda Ioka and Japanese fighters. If Kazuda Ioka fights John Scrappy Ramirez at the YouTube theater in LA, will you buy a ticket and go to the fight? Because you've been talking this John Scrappy Ramirez stuff for the longest time. And so if he fights in LA for the world title, you better be there. Otherwise, I'm gonna go off on you. They say, how is it different? AIBA has no headgear. It's not the pros. And you're not fighting in 8 to 10 to 12 round fights. That's how it's different. The duration of the fight is different. I don't mind Jared Anderson taking on Riyad Miri. He's a good seasoned veteran. He is, but I mean, I would have no problem with it if Jared Anderson was like earlier in his career. But now that he's ranked and he's talking about guiding guys like Filip Hrgovic, like he's on Twitter flapping his gums about fighting Filip Hrgovic, and you fighting a guy that's barely a heavyweight. I mean, come on, we gotta do better, and we gotta hold these guys to higher standards. No, Jalalov is good, man. He's good, but I'm just not. I'm not. I know he did some great things in the amateurs, but from when I watched him fight, I just wasn't too high on him. Jared Anderson also fought Johnny Langston. That was a good fight. That was probably one of Jared Anderson's best fights, was the Johnny Langston fight. Oh my God. Raw Dog with the hot take. He says, I'd pick Richard Torres Jr. to beat Jared Anderson right now. I don't know about that one. Richard Torres is I like Richard Torres. He's a good guy. Nice person, but no way. Richard Torres is not beating Jared Anderson right now. No way. I was there in Florida when he fought Curtis Harper on the Robeisy Ramirez Espinoza card. And Curtis Harper is past. He was never no great fighter in his prime, but he's past his prime, and he's a crafty little durable veteran. And he really couldn't. He had a hard enough time with him. He's not beating Jared Anderson. I just don't see it. But look, guys. On that note, we're gonna put the bow on the live. I just wanted to come on here and speak my piece and talk to you guys and keep the 90 Days of Boxing series going and whatnot. But listen, man. I want to hear from you guys. You know, what do you guys think about, or in the comments, you know, Benavidez and all that stuff. And yeah, the lives will be Saturday for Berlanga McCroy at night and Nakatani versus Santiago in the morning. So stay Stay tuned for all that. Stay tuned for all the great things coming here on True School Sports. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys.